Welcome into the Packers Report. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. We're going to start off today's show by giving you the latest on Trey Hendrickson and why it might be bad news for all the Packers fans that wanted him to be wearing green and gold. And then on the second half of today's show, I'm going to tell you one Packers player that you better watch out for and you better get excited for the 2025 NFL season. Before we get into today's content, though, make sure that you guys are subscribed because we are only one subscriber behind Lions Talk. They're beating us 509 subs to 508 subs. I just need at least two loyal, die-hard Green Bay Packers fans to hit that sub button to help us prove to everybody here at Chat Sports we got better fans than the Lions, better fans than the Vikings, and sure as hell better fans than the Bears. Do me a favor. It's free to do. You lock us in by hitting that sub button. All right, let's get into the bad news. I hate talking bad news on these shows, but sometimes you got to do it. Jeremy Fowler dropped this bomb yesterday. Bengals and All-Pro defensive end Trey Hendrickson have resumed contract talks. That's the tweet I did not want to see. That's the tweet I haven't been wanting to see for a very long time, and I'm kind of that it is one that surfaced. It is a little bit shocking to me. Jeremy Fowler went into it in a little bit more detail, saying, for the first time in several months, there is some optimism surrounding Trey Hendrickson's future with the Bengals. The two sides have resumed communication on his contract and future with the team, sources told ESPN's Jeremy Fowler on Sunday. This is a positive turn in what has been a fierce stalemate. And this is a bummer, okay? I'm not going to lie to you. We've talked about it a ton all offseason long, that if Trey Hendrickson becomes available, if he truly gets on the trade block, if him and Cincinnati have realized that after months and months of a fierce stalemate, that Jeremy Fowler said, if they decide, you know what, we're not ever going to see eye to eye, we're going to put you on the trade block, I always thought that Green Bay should be interested, okay? It's been a very up and down offseason for Trey Hendrickson. March 6th was when Cincinnati announced that Trey Hendrickson is allowed to seek a trade. And then you go over to May 12th, which is when he released a statement to ESPN saying there's been no communication. Then the day after, he goes to like rookie minicamp and vents to reporters about how he wants to play on a new contract and now he won't play until he gets one. Flash forward to last week, June 10th, Hendrickson did not attend the minicamp, and then here we are. And this is the first positive update all offseason long. From an offseason that just gave negative news and negative news and negative news for Bengals fans, which turned into positive news for Packers fans, now it's flipped a little bit. Positive news for Bengals fans, and I would say bad news if you're a fan of the Green Bay Packers and a fan of Trey Hendrickson and possibly want him with the green and gold. I want you to put your GM hat on for me. What do you think Cincy does with Trey? Do you think they re-sign him, extend him, type those R's? If you think that they trade him, go ahead, give me a T for trade in the comment section down below. We got more to talk about with Trey Hendrickson, but I just got to remind you, make sure you stay tuned, okay? Because later I'm going to be giving you one Green Bay Packers player that you should watch out for, so don't go anywhere. That's coming up in just a couple of minutes. We're going to start off by telling you why this is bad news. The Packers have been linked very often to Trey Hendrickson trades throughout the entire offseason. It didn't take a genius to realize that if Trey Hendrickson was going to be on the trade block, that Green Bay was a team that possibly would be a really good fit for him. We heard from places like Sports Illustrated. They came out with an article, and they said if Hendrickson wants out, there's one Super Bowl contender who emerged from free agency in the draft without improving its pass rush. That's the Packers. Then ESPN released an article talking about the top trade destinations for candidates. They gave Trey Hendrickson, of course, top destination, Green Bay Packers, saying if no deal comes together, Green Bay would be the perfect landing spot for him, as he'd pair well with Rashawn Gary in Hafley's defensive system. And then we all remember that Kay Adams interview with Matt LaFleur, who she said, I know you drafted some pass rushers, but I got to ask, are you open to adding potentially another one if they come available? And then later in that interview said, you know who would be a great addition? NFL sack leaders. And who was the NFL sack leader? Of course, it was Trey Hendrickson. And another reason why this could be bad news for the Packers and for Packers fans is because this is what I firmly believe for the entirety of the offseason. Trey Hendrickson could be that missing Super Bowl piece. Okay? You got to think long and hard, and you got to go back really, really far over these next couple of minutes. But bear with me. Think about the Packers defense when Bart Starr was the franchise quarterback. Think of all the Hall of Famers on that team. Willie Davis, Henry Jordan, Ray Nitschke, Willie Wood, Herb Adderley. Like, all 5 of those guys are enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Sure, Bart Starr was an unbelievable quarterback, especially back in that time. But do you think the dynasty could have been started if it weren't for any of those Hall of Famers? Then you flash forward a little bit. You get to Brett Favre, the next franchise quarterback for this team. He had Reggie White. Need I say more? The Minister of Defense. Also, Leroy Butler, who has been a Hall of Fame finalist over the past couple of times the ballot has been voted on. And then you go forward a little bit more to the most recent franchise quarterback that this team has had, Aaron Rodgers. He had Charles Woodson, a Hall of Famer. He also had Clay Matthews and Nick Collins. Both of those guys could be Hall of Famers at some point, but it's too early to tell, right? They don't get the luxury that Bart Starr does of playing with those guys way back when. But still, I think any of us could see those 2 guys and say, I wouldn't be surprised if one day they're donning a gold jacket. Nick Collins had 3 straight Pro Bowl, 3 straight All-Pro years with Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. You need defensive game changers if you want to win a Super Bowl. Plain and simple. Whether that's in the secondary, whether it's at linebacker, or whether it's on the defensive line. And right now with this roster, there's a lot of defensive talent. But does it have a defensive game changer? Maybe Xavier McKinney. I love Xavier McKinney. He's probably the number 1 on this defense when you talk about game changers. Other than that, I don't know if there is one. And I just think that trading for Trey Hendrickson, the cost wouldn't be too crazy of the trade itself. I don't think you'd have to give up that much to get him. And then, sure, you'd have to pay him. That's what he's looking for from Cincinnati. But this team has $35 million in cap space. That's the 7th most in the National Football League. They have the ability to do it. But now after Trey Hendrickson and the Cincinnati Bengals have restarted talks of a new contract, then maybe it's not going to happen anytime soon. Which is a bummer because I really, really wanted him to be on this roster. If you guys were Brian Gutekunst, you let me know. Would you trade for Trey Hendrickson? Pretend you're Goody right now. And if you were, give me a yes in the comment section down below. And if you wouldn't trade for him, go ahead and give me a no. Alrighty, now it is the time that you have been waiting for. One Packers player that I think you should be watching out for. A guy who I think is going to be a massive, massive addition to this roster, to this team in 2025, and that is one Marshawn Lloyd. He spoke to reporters last week, this tweet coming from Matt Schneidman, saying, I'm doing good, really good, can run as fast as I can jump as high as I want, can catch the ball. Says that he's been 100% for some time now. And that is absolutely massive news for anybody who's paid any sort of attention to Marshawn Lloyd since he's been drafted, okay? I think he's going to be huge for this offense. Not just in his ability to break tackles, which when he was in college his senior year, he forced 47 missed tackles. Not just the fact that he had 7.1 yards per carry his senior year in college before he was drafted. Like, there's so many things that are great about him, but also it means so much, in my opinion, to Josh Jacobs and to this running back room. Because if you look at this depth chart right now, it's deeper than it was last year, okay? Now, it's not Lloyd's fault that he dealt with injuries for pretty much the entirety of the 2024 season. But just like think of what the addition of Marshawn Lloyd, fully healthy, will mean for Josh Jacobs, okay? Because Josh Jacobs, if you think about last season, he had the 6th most carries and he had the 5th most snaps in all of the National Football League when it came to running backs. He was a workhorse, okay? And partly because I don't necessarily believe that there was a running back 2 on last year's roster that was as much of a running threat as Marshawn Lloyd is. that has as high of a ceiling as Marshawn Lloyd does. So if he comes in this year, and if he's as good as I think he's going to be, that only helps Josh Jacobs save a little bit of tread on the tires for when it's most important. Later in the season, you're playing colder games. You can't pass the ball as much. Into the playoffs, same thing goes right there. Marshawn Lloyd might be the reason because all of that. He had an interesting collegiate career. 2020 tore his ACL in training camp. 2021 was fine. Then he had a really good year in 2022 and 9 games played with South Carolina. Then transferred to the other USC of Southern California, and that's where he absolutely went off. There's a lot of reasons to be excited, right? The 7.1 yards per carry, 7th most of all players in the NCAA his senior year, 47 missed tackles, 9 touchdowns in 11 games. This dude's got a nose for the end zone. He wants the football. He wants the contact, but he also can avoid it as well. He's got really everything you could want in a running back too. I need you to cast your vote for me in the comments section, or I guess not in the comments section, down below with that thumbs up button. If you are excited about Marshawn Lloyd, then tell me by liking today's video, okay? If you're just as pumped as I am, do me one big favor and hit that thumbs up button. With Marshawn Lloyd, if he gives me 200 through the air and 200 through the ground, I'm happy, okay? Me talking about him over these last 3 minutes, it's not me saying, okay, I need 800 yards out of him. I need 7 touchdowns. I need almost 1,000 combined. No, I think that's a little bit unrealistic. If he just gives me 200 through the air and 200 through the ground, I think that's phenomenal. He's doing his job, in my opinion. And you add him to the list of these offensive weapons on this team, and you take a look at what this offense has with Jacobs, Reed, Golden, Kraft, Dobbs, Lloyd, Savion Williams, Octavian Wicks. If Love can stay healthy, if he can play how he was playing in 2023 when he was healthy, then this can be a top 3 offense. Not can, will be a top 3 offense. With a coach like Matt LaFleur, a quarterback like Jordan Love, again, if he's healthy, and just the absolute embarrassment of riches around him, this could be a really, really special season. Make sure you guys got me followed on Instagram and on Twitter. You got me at Joey Petersen 8 on both of those platforms. Super easy to find. Make sure you spell that last name right. If you look at S-O-N, not going to be me. Also, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and we'll see you next time.